somewhere along the way, I just quit playing the piano. And that got me thinking about all the other parts of life that I may have ignored as well. It's funny, really, when I sat back down with my new friend after getting it a few weeks ago, how it felt almost like a reunion. I was back to something I understood, something that I knew, something that I could manipulate, so to speak. And there were things that I still remembered after all of these years. And to me, that was really impressive that I was able to still have retained some knowledge. You know, they talk about muscle memory. Maybe it was some type of muscle memory. And that's the beauty when we go back to something that we'd neglected for a long time, especially if it's a hobby or a passion, something that we enjoyed, is that it seems to come back. And it seems to bring back some of the familiarity that it always had. And that to me is really something special about sort of re-engaging, rebuilding a hobby that you once had. And yet, while we can create or enjoy our passion or our hobby once again at another point in life, there is the reality that is rusty. You saw in the last video, I couldn't make that combination of transition from different chords on the way down the keyboard. And then the final chord, there was another dissonant note. It just was not right. And those things happen all the time. So while there's this knowledge of placement to some degree, of sounds, of sound combinations that can work well, that this and that can actually work, that can a little bit as well, but that one won't. And I knew that. And these are some things that got so ingrained that they're gone. The ability to physically carry out what the mind thinks is where the challenge is going to be. And that's where the growth and the learning for me is going to be experienced, is finding ways to translate the ideas that I have in my head using my limited skills that I still have to actually, impart them onto the keyboard to make the sounds and the music that I want. It's going to take time, and I understand that. There's some arthritis going on. The fingers aren't as nimble as they used to be. That makes a lot of sense. I was 8 to 10 years old when I started playing. I'm in my 60s now, with a good 25 years, maybe more in between, where I almost never touched a keyboard except maybe at a friend's house for 5 minutes, hitting a couple notes, becoming embarrassed because it sounded horrible and walking away. So got to work out that rust. Got to work out the muscle memory, get that back going, so that my hands can hopefully get closer to meeting up with my mind and the ideas that I have in my head to re-pursue and rebuild this hobby as part of my life. And you know, as I reflect back, as I started playing again, and I could make some sort of simple sounds that were not horrific, I found myself in this emotionally joyful place. While there's simple chords, and I'm not doing anything fast or fancy because I can't, hearing things that sounded good, progressions that made sense from one note to another, one chord to another and back, is just this emotionally satisfying feeling that I don't even really know how to put it into words. And I really hope everybody has the opportunity, in whatever their passion or hobby is, to find a way to come back to that. Because it's not just the skill level, it's the emotional piece that is making this worth the effort. Doing things that I feel good about, hearing sounds that I enjoy, brings something to my life that I think is really hard to put into words. As you can hear, I'm kind of struggling a little bit because it's something that was unexpected. I figured it was going to be a very cognitive experience. Learn to play again, practice, develop speed, develop accuracy, develop timing. And what I found is something very, very different. What I found is there's emotional component that I hadn't thought about, that I can just play slow and not even think much about what I'm playing. And it's not exciting. Nobody listening to this, probably you, isn't finding this to be terribly exciting. But when I hit that note right there, it just gets me down inside. And that's what re-pursuing an old hobby, an old passion is all about. And in some ways, this is very interesting that this is coming back into my life as photography is growing in its relevance to my life. And I think there is definitely a path there, because if we break it down, at least the way I'm pursuing the keyboard and the piano through writing my own music as something I've always wanted to do and always used to do, is that they're both highly creative processes. They're both areas where I can get out my emotions, get out my thoughts in a way that is not just with words. If I go somewhere and I'm taking pictures of something, I can compose the image. I can potentially work on the lighting, the depth of field, so many other factors to make that picture look like something I'm trying to communicate. And I don't even have to use a single word. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. In a way, I'm kind of grateful that I don't have to use any words. I can simply just have the image and it speaks for itself. And this guy here, this keyboard, is very much the same way. I can express feelings. I can create compositions, like a composition for a photo. This is a composition auditorily through music that will then convey a message. If the song is slow, maybe sad, that conveys a certain message to somebody. And, you know, I still make mistakes like that one, right? If it's something faster, which I really can't do very effectively yet, that's going to convey a different emotion to people, and I don't even have to say a word. So that is one of the cool sort of ties between music and photography, is they both communicate without words. Hopefully any passions anybody out there finds is able to serve the same function for them. Perhaps even a woodworker who creates designs out of wood is communicating. They're showing art and not having to speak. Because for many of us, the spoken language is hard. Feelings are difficult. And this is where passions like art can come in and help us sort of make that transition where we can't speak, we can communicate in another language, the language of music, the language of visual arts like photography, of any other type of artistic pursuit, or even simply an enjoyable recreational pursuit. They all communicate, they all tap into our soul, and they all help us sort of get out of the doldrums of the day-to-day work and the demands that are placed upon us. In a sense, taking up this hobby, being able to create these sounds, has invigorated me to some degree. I look forward to the moments when I can come sit down and practice that little tune that I've been working on, add another section to it potentially, and expand it and grow it to where I feel it's becoming more and more complete. And when it's done, I can record it and I can move on to another one and probably have several simultaneously in the works as I work my way through and make that album that I want to make. And that'll be a milestone. I'll be thrilled. Again, it won't be for sale. It's not going to be on a major record label. It'll be something I'll do in GarageBand and put together, but it will definitely be an enjoyable and fulfilling experience. And I think that's one of the most important things for any of us, is to find joy and fulfillment in a lot of the things that we do. I think in the next video, we're going to go back to the therapy process and my therapy career and what potentially it feels like starting to transition out of something that has been effective and that's worked so well. I think that's probably going to be the next video topic. So we'll see you then.